Dear ChatGPT, people are often asking us to help them with the most important things about how to do business differently. Please give me 250 prompts of interesting ideas for us to share.
I think they did a good job because number 2 is what stuck out to me. There's two that can immediately turn me off to a restaurant where I will never go back again. It has nothing to do with the food or drinks, nor does it have anything to do with the service.
Oh, I know for sure what the first one is.
You're using a lot of big words, and since I don't know them, I'm going to take them as disrespect. Watch your mouth and continue with the podcast. I got news for you.
What is it?
We're really doing it.
This?
It's all happening.
It all happened so fast.
No, it didn't. But I will say, hats off to you.
For what?
For building this whole thing.
Thanks, man.
Because we didn't hire someone to do it, it only took about 9 months, and it looks wonderful.
That seems exaggerative. Oh, have we been in this building 9 months?
Yes. We've been in the building for 10 months next Saturday. Well, good job.
Thank you.
Let's kick this thing off with something exciting. I mean, I love these topics that were generated from ChatGPT.
Stop. Those are all original ideas, and there's 250 more where that came from.
The formatting is incredibly similar, and I'm downright impressed by the whole thing. So,
Dear ChatGPT, people are often asking us to help them with the most important things about how to do business differently, but we're not sure where to start. Please give me 250 prompts of interesting ideas for us to share.
Yeah, well, I think they did a good job because number 2 is what stuck out to me. So I think that's the one we should tackle.
All right, let's do it. What is it?
Building customer relationships like iconic brands. Okay, you want an example of that? Because I have that if you wanted it.
An iconic brand?
Yep.
Okay, go for it.
An iconic brand that builds customer relationships. Disney and their magical and consistent guest experience.
Disney means something totally different to me with 2 little kiddos than it does.
What does it mean to you?
Well, my guess is when they're talking about that, they're talking about the theme parks. They're talking about their cruise line. They're talking about, aren't there like hotels? Isn't like the Aulani on Oahu a Disney property?
I don't know. I've never stayed at a Disney property.
So I think that's what they mean when they're talking about customer service. Disney, I think of it as like the entertainment properties, and that's just like a feeling. It evokes a feeling, and it's, that's I'm watching a movie with my kids. But when I think of like Disneyland, the experience of an interactive hospitality thing, what's this hospitality?
They can't point. They have to use their whole hand.
That's part of it?
I think actually 3 fingers too. It's this way. It's not there.
I can fact check this like in a matter of minutes.
That's crystal clear how you can fact check.
No,
okay?
we have a good friend who was like a princess there. Several princesses, but primarily Snow White.
All right. So what does it mean to you?
No, I'm saying Disneyland is the obvious one. And to me, it means something different because like long lines or whatever. But when you're bitching about long lines at Disneyland, what's your frame of reference? When's the last time you were even at a Disneyland?
When we took the whole company there and shut down the office for Employee Appreciation Day.
So 3 years?
And then you demanded that we get annual passes because we'll go all the time. And that was the last time I went.
I got the passes. I got them for the whole family. And we went a few times. It probably still didn't pencil, but that's your fault. You used to go there all the time.
I did.
And you just walk around.
Yeah.
And do nothing.
I used to do that a lot in weird places. I don't do that anymore.
Walk a molly?
Yeah. I used to walk a molly with the one and only Seizure Mon.
Yeah.
And I don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
But okay. So magical experiences at Disneyland, clearly unique. From the pointing and having to say things like my pleasure and things like that. But like, what else? How does that build a customer relationship?
I want this cheat sheet for myself too.
That's not a cheat sheet. That's just like bullet points of ideas. There's no getting out of this, Jekyll. You got to figure it out on your own.
Well, what's interesting is that they give the example of Disney's magical and consistent guest experience, but they say the role of transparency and honesty. And what's wild is that like everything I know about Disney's experience that gets created once you're in the theme park, at least, is not transparent or honest at all. They pump out the smell of candy on Main Street. That's not real. My kids are like, oh my gosh, I want ice cream. Can you smell that? They're not even conscious of it. They don't say, can you smell that?
What about when people die drowning swimming from Tom Sawyer's Island to the mainland?
Never happened.
And they sweep under the rug.
Never happened.
I mean,
Get their arms chopped off from holding their hands up on Space Mountain.
You're saying the Haunted Mansion's just haunted just out of nowhere just because.
I don't think it's really haunted. But who's the fuck?
Okay. So there's a lack of transparency right there. It's a lie in the name of the ride, then.
Right. They claim it's haunted and it's not.
I don't know how strong my customer relationship is going to be with these people after this.
Yeah. There's another thing. There's something in the Winnie the Pooh ride too that is fallacious.
There's a Winnie the Pooh ride.
Of course, there's a Winnie the Pooh ride. Shit that you don't know because you don't have. I mean, you go there and what do you get cocktails and walk around.
Well,
I'm
California
literally.
Adventure, you can't do that at Disneyland.
That's not true entirely. In fact, I've had cocktails with you inside of Disneyland legally in Star Wars World.
Yeah, that's in California Adventure.
Absolutely, it's not Star Wars. Star Wars is inside of the main Disneyland. Yeah,
Is it?
yeah. You go.
Took over Tomorrowland?
No, it's they bought more space. It's beyond. You going by Space Mountain?
Toontown?
Oh, sorry. You're going by. They did take over part of Toontown, but you go by, the Thunder Mountain, and then you head off to the left, and it's way back there. But there's one place. Remember we went into that like space lounge
And
everybody?
Club 33, which I was
That's true.
very underwhelmed by.
That's so rude to the person who took us, who will probably maybe watch this.
Do you know, he's absolutely not watching this. Do you know why it was so underwhelming? Take a guess. You know this about me.
My guess is that it's going to lead us back to the topic we're trying to speak about, and it's about the experience. No, it's not.
Maybe, yeah. It's not about customer relationships, but it's definitely about experience.
What was it? Because I know you love the exclusivity. We can break down exactly what Club 33 is for anybody that doesn't know and say why it is cool. Because I'll give you give me the first the reasons. Let's start with the bad. Give the reasons why you were underwhelmed, and then I'll tell all the cool stuff about it.
Okay, there's two that can immediately turn me off to a restaurant where I will never go back again.
I know we started with cocktails, and I know that cocktail list was great.
Okay, it's
And
not that.
You really enjoyed that.
Actually has nothing to do with the food or drinks.
The server was
Nor does it have anything to do with the service.
one of the things that's most important about the experience of a restaurant. Oh, I know for sure what the first one is.
Okay, what is it?
Hands down, I know what it is.
All right.
The lighting was too bright.
Yep, exactly
It's
right.
gotta be the first one.
It's too bright.
Yeah,
Too bright.
yeah.
Why are people blasting the lights like you're on a movie set when you go to eat?
That's always your complaint. But you
Yeah,
want, but
not
also,
a Sizzler.
you
Even
also
though Sizzler's
want it
great.
So, dude, if you mess up my thing at Sizzler by saying negative things publicly,
I love Sizzler.
yeah.
But when
Not
I'm
as
not going to Sizzler, I expect dim lighting, like dark, like so dark that I might trip and fall.
There's all sorts of reasons why that isn't the case. But it also can be too dark. You've never been in a restaurant that's too dark.
No.
You've never been in a restaurant and been like, wow, I need to grab this candle from the
Okay,
center of the
let me tell you.
Blind Rabbit.
Yeah, Blind Rabbit is the darkest restaurant I've ever been to in my life. Your eyes have to adjust when you walk in
Yeah.
before you can even walk to your table. That's about perfect in my world. So what's the second one?
Okay, so your second thing about the experience of a restaurant or a dining experience that does not have to do with the food
Yep.
or the lighting
Yep.
or the drinks
Yeah.
or the service
Correct.
would be, it all comes down to ambiance, and lighting is one element and the other is decor in the restaurant.
Incorrect.
Jesus. Can I have a hint?
You're going to hate yourself when you know the answer. Like I'm going to watch your soul leave your body when you know because you know the
Because
answer.
I know the answer.
Yes.
And lighting was obvious. I can't believe I didn't say that right away. I mean, give me a hint. I don't.
Really?
Really? From a treehouse?
Music.
What were they doing? I don't even think.
I don't know. That's a great question because I couldn't hear anything. You got to be able to hear the music. It's got to be good music. Okay, that's the big check box, which, I mean, most people miss that. But get the good music going and get it like loud enough where I want to be screaming at the person I'm with.
Wait, why am I having a complete mental meltdown in terms like when I'm at just a regular restaurant? Is there always music playing? There's not always music playing.
Not at a regular restaurant, no.
There's almost never music playing. I mean, in the bar.
I don't like to go to regular restaurants. I like to go to really great restaurants.
No, I know, but I'm trying to think of the last time that we were at a restaurant. I mean, because we don't.
They should have some really good house music. Like maybe it's like, if it's a steakhouse, you got that Sinatra vibe, maybe Billie Holiday,
Yeah,
something
but when
swanky.
it's not live, right? So like a few weeks ago, we were in Vegas and we did Delilah, which we were just talking about yesterday. I absolutely love the ambiance.
I mean, live music is wonderful. That's a whole other variable.
Sure, but I'm thinking, okay, so we were at Carver Steak, right? The next night.
Yeah, there's definitely music playing there.
I don't think there was.
Okay, I'll text Belfiore right now.
I'm trying
I'll
to
get him on this goddamn show.
That's what I'm trying to think about. I'm trying to think like, so you were at Houston's last night. There's not music playing in there.
There's absolutely music playing.
You're sitting at your booth. There's music.
Yes.
What kind of what are they playing there?
They play primarily jazz.
Wow. I'm honestly like trying to think of places that and like,
You know why I know this? Let me tell you why.
because you Shazammed something because you couldn't find the song.
No, I'll tell you why. It's because in 2024, I listened to 61,598 minutes of music just on Spotify. That's excluding any other source. So if music's not playing, I know about
You
it.
know about it. Yeah.
Okay, so
Well, wait, hold on. To be fair, not to like challenge you, you're Mr. Music Man. I got it. But the same way that my Spotify, what's it called, Wrapped, is including what goes on in my wife's car and at the home.
You keep saying that. I'm
100%
still not buying it.
It's a shared thing. So like yours, that's why I'm wondering whether yours 61,000 minutes includes Ash's, your wife's, includes your mom's. Like there's people on this plant.
First of all, they're not on the account anymore, and they don't listen to Spotify.
If they're not on the account, why can't I add my wife? And then I can have a separate one. And then my next year's wrap for 2025 would be real. And I'll make sure that I delete anything that's Taylor Swift.
You're derailing, and you listen to Taylor Swift on repeat in the office. So there's no defense there.
I'm being defensive.
So okay. So 2 ways to massively up your game as a restaurant: get the lights down, get the music up.
Yeah.
And if it's anything on Kiss FM or any of that bullshit, you get docked a lot of points. It's got to be good music.
Yeah.
Classic.
This is challenging because you are in the vast like minority in terms of music taste.
Incorrect.
There's a whole reason why it's called popular music. The stuff that you hate that is called.
First of all, that's not music. So
That's my point.
Let me defend myself here. Okay, so I will say I have a vast array, a variety of music that doesn't touch most people's ears, but it also encapsulates all of the things that people do listen to. Like I handpicked basically every single song at my wedding, minus what the dance situation was.
Yeah, because once we were in there, that was fire.
This guy went a little nuts.
Yeah,
playing goddamn Kesha or whatever the hell
he was great.
You kids listen to. But
it was a lot of fun.
Every other when people are walking down the aisle, when people are arriving, sitting at their seats, like do all this stuff. The cocktail hour, handpicked every song.
So even the part the walking down when your wife was walking down, and with the part you weren't crying at.
I'm so lucky she's not going to listen to this.
You thought that wasn't going to come up on the first one, didn't you?
She brings it up every single day.
Who was crying though?
You were. I knew you were crying, but I couldn't tell it was because she was walking down the aisle or because of the bruise from the Botox earlier that week. The video would probably allude to the Botox.
We're pulling no punches here. All right, that's fine. I hope we could put like a photo right up in here that has the bruise that came from the Botox.
Yeah. Well, we don't have a producer, but
you started that, by the way. It's not like I went out and I was like, I'm going to go get Botox. You were like, hey,
oh yeah, you think this happens by accident?
You were like, you're turning 40, bro. You know what I'm going to get you for your birthday? Little baby bow.
You turning 40 feels like just a decade ago.
It was almost.
Okay, so let's rewind back to the experience.
Yeah,
so
we do have to actually help.
Those are super cost-effective ways. They're free. Well, they're free.
Okay, so that's
and they changed the game entirely. So anyway, I digress. But the whole point of that was Club 33. It was The food was great. Service was great.
Okay.
Exclusivity. I mean, it's a cool idea. But at the end of the day, I have no interest in ever going back there for those reasons. There's no vibe. And I don't know about you, but I like to drop money on experiences.
Yep.
You can tell I wear the same clothes every day. So when I go somewhere, it's like that's worth the money if the experience is great. And if the experience is diluted by anything like bad lighting or poor music or no music, then that was a waste of money.
So I'm going to give devil's advocate because I always do on Club 33. In terms of experience, the really cool thing, like you're talking about exclusivity, when you're just walking through Disneyland and you see a door that you've never even looked at before, and you got your personal code and you pop your personal code in there and they ask you for the password or whatever the hell he did, right? And you go in there and it feels instantly like you're not in Disneyland anymore. You walk right out of the hustle bustle and kids and people crying and all, and you're now, oh wow, you're in this like oasis of a amazing, because the front area, that's all beautiful, right? And then the cocktail area, the ambiance in the cocktail area where there was music, There had to be music in that whole lounge.
Yeah. So those 30 seconds were incredible.
We were there for a while, and you liked it. The cocktails were also great.
When we walked in and we were no longer in the hustle and bustle of Disneyland, yes, that was really cool.
That whole experience.
As I recall, we walked upstairs down like a corridor, and that was the end of that experience, which was wonderful.
Yeah.
But so the remainder of the experience was 3.5 hours, I think.
Yeah, I think there are some positive things about it. The service was fantastic. That lady that
Angela
is that you gonna
Andrea?
It's
one of the two.
I'm not gonna argue against it because I don't remember, but she was very personal. It was great. But what's interesting to me, the line I would take on what you're saying are the things that do make a difference, or make up the experience. Are what's interesting about them is that they're relatively subliminal. Like they're not like right out in front of you. So it's kind of like what we talk about a lot, where whatever you're there with, if you're having an experience with any business or any, hospitality is what comes to mind, but like in a restaurant, the food, the service, those things, they have to be good, right? Like that's that's a prerequisite. Yes. I'm coming here, I'm spending a lot of money. I'm expecting that those things are good. Now, everything else that is what makes the difference are kind of the extraneous things that are so much more easily looked over, right? And not really paid attention to. Music, super duper easy, but these are just creating like an atmosphere. Like both of those things that you mentioned, straight up atmosphere. That's all that it is.
Right. Which I mean, honestly, still is for the most part the baseline, right? Like I'm not like.
You mean dim lighting and having some music that's pretty good music. That's still like you should be there no matter what.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not saying, the most incredible restaurant has dim lights and plays music. I'm saying you got to get there just to be considered, But all the other things you mentioned, like the nuances and the intricacies of what makes it special. Like I'll give you an example. Last night I went to Houston's.
You love you. I mean, we love Houston's.
I love it so much. I went by myself.
Yeah, you're there.
So one of the nuances they have at all Hillstone restaurants is if you order a martini, first of all, it's very, very, very streamlined, the whole process.
Yes.
So the host or hostess that sits you down asks for a drink order right then. You're not even waiting for the server. And then that gets written on a card, gets communicated to the bar. And before you know it, you have a cocktail and you haven't really been waiting much. Now,
serves both parties, by the way. That's helpful to the restaurant and their whole.
Oh, function. Totally. Yeah. It's actually genius because it's one of the reasons I actually don't choose a Hillstone restaurant for something like a holiday party or something like where I actually want to elongate the experience because they're too efficient and you never feel rushed there and they're never rushing you out. They're just so good at what they do that before, like the meal's over before you know it because they're that good.
Yeah.
But if you order a martini, I don't know if they've got like a clock on it or if they're just like feeling it out, but they will come back probably with inside of 10 minutes with another frozen martini glass where they are refreshing. They're just basically pouring it in the cold one and then they continue walking away. I mean, that's a really nice, subtle touch.
Second glass. Yeah. Cold glass is
really good. And they'll keep doing it if you're nursing it, but I mean, I'm not nursing. I'm getting the second one. Yeah. So
sometimes they can't even bring the second one. There's not enough time.
Right. It's like, there's my check.
Yeah.
And you know how I like to do it. I mean, when it comes to efficiency, like they're like, okay, like Barbara's going to be your server tonight. And I'm like, before you walk away, here's everything I want for the whole night. Here's the cocktails I want. Here's the appetizers, the entrees, the dessert, and I'll take the check.
Yeah.
Like, I like to be in control.
We did that at lunch yesterday and the guy didn't know what to do with himself. We'll have this, and this, and please bring the check. Like, you just got here.
Yeah. I mean, it just makes sense. Yeah. So, okay. So we're talking about things that can build a customer relationship, and trust is one of the bullet points here. Now, we're not talking about, I trust Club 33. That's different. But when we're talking about Disney and brands that build an element of trust where like you actually feel a certain way when you go there and you feel that like a relationship is being built. Can you think of any brands that come to mind where you have that feeling?
I mean, the harder thing to answer here would be like it says where the brand feels like a friend, right? Or some sort of an iconic brand. So it would be really, really hard to start thinking about this for companies or brands that have no or very little experiential interactivity, right? So like, for example, think about Disney, when we're talking about them. When I'm saying I think of Disney as like most of what they do is entertainment properties, right? Like that's not experiential. You're going to the theater and you're whatever, but like, you know that it comes from a Disney brand. This is like subliminal stuff, like my back in the day Bright House stuff of like, what does the brand evoke to you? So like my favorite brand in the world, which makes me super fanboy, is Apple, right? And it's basically like the only experience you have with them would be customer service, would be the time that you're in a store. But then you could also argue that every moment that you spend playing with any device or the ecosystem they have, that's like how you feel about the interactivity with them. That's more about their product and not their brand. So that's hard to do. But it's, I mean, for a brand, it's what we talk about a lot, which is like how you do anything is how you do everything. It's essentially saying that there's going to be like a certain way that we conduct business or a certain level of quality that every single person that you might speak to at customer service, in a store, whatever, is going to be held to. And almost like their equivalent of what we were just talking about in a restaurant, of the ambiance, of the lighting, of the music, is probably like, you know, you walk into an Apple store and like, what do the employees look like? Like, are they totally straight laced and are they buttoned up? What do the uniforms look like? Like, what is that, you know, what does that look and feel? Another one of the things we talk about, like people like us do things like this, like they feel like I'm one of them.
So far, those are 2 Client Giant core values.
Yes.
Continue.
They're all going to come out in one day, right? Mm-hmm. But you know, it's kind of to say that those are the things that make me trust them. The consistency, right? So like, I know that I'm always going to get treated a certain way, a certain level, a certain type of way. And they've created a process around whatever the interaction is with somebody who touches the brand. So that gets me to trust them. And then the seeing myself in whoever is providing me that service, like, or seeing some sort of likeness or appreciation, as Apple is probably the best way to say that, is, you know, you watch the Simon Sinek thing with Start With Why. The idea is
there's a third.
I'm gonna have to remember what the fourth one is in order to pull it out. Just to essentially, like, his ultimate explanation of where Start With Why came from is, now I'm racing for the fourth, is explaining the difference between, in like the 80s and 90s, how IBM approached the explanation of building personal computers and how Apple did it, and essentially saying his explanation is, everything we do, we challenge the status quo.
Yeah, I remember.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So it's having that like shared mentality with them, that you feel like you have a kinship.
That's the relationship. So when you're building when a brand is building a customer relationship with you, is it more about trust or is it more about experience?
I think being a loyal customer of any service or product or whatever it is, the number one thing I would say, or the most universal thing I would say, is trust, because that is more relatable to every kind of business. Like it's hard to say just in general, like if something's like a CPG company and I'm choosing their cereal over whatever, that's trust that's built on consistency. McDonald's is a pretty good example of that too, right? The consistency is no matter what state or country you get a McDonald's hamburger in, that's going to taste the same, right? And that's how I trust that. That's a consistency. That's a big thing with restaurants and any kind of a food establishment. So I think trust is probably number one of the most universal. And then experience. Wow, experience actually might overtake that above a certain price point.
It's interesting you bring that up, because there's definitely brands that I trust and I will continue to work with because I trust them. I don't think I have a customer relationship with them at all, as far as like...
Give an example.
So Southwest Airlines.
Uh-oh.
No, that's not an uh-oh. So I will fly Southwest because I trust them as a company. Like, if something goes haywire, there's a delay, there's a cancellation, there's lost luggage, their company is ran so well that I know, or at least I trust, that I'll be made whole and that it'll be rectified in some way. Unlike American Airlines, who will remain nameless. Who I wouldn't fly if it were free. I wouldn't fly if they paid me. They
can't. Guess what? They're never going to now.
Oh, damn! They're not one of the sponsors.
Not today.
So trust is a big thing there. But if you're like, who's your favorite airline, or who do you have the most loyalty to, or, you know, it's not like Southwest comes to mind. It's just they're one of the ones that if I'm going down the list, I'm like, oh yeah, I'd rather fly that than Alaska if it's the same price and whatever. Alaska is operated by American.
Oh, wait, but what's the reason then? Why would you rather fly? Because you've had a negative experience with Alaska, or you're just basically
because they're tied to American.
Okay, but don't you find it harder to think about this with like a consumer packaged goods company, or like let's call it like an electronics company? You're talking about like, well, you've got a TCL TV in this. Sorry to rat you out like that. You got a TCL TV.
First of all, that's a really good bang for the buck, and
at least in the cabin you have it. So I mean, you do. It's there as a second home. So congrats, but it's a TCL on the wall.
2 TCLs. I have 5 Pioneers in that house.
Pioneer Television.
Now what?
I don't know. I didn't realize we were talking about tape decks in the 90s. I didn't even know Pioneer still made TVs.
Shame on you.
We are losing so many sponsors. No. Pioneer,
MCI WorldCom's lining up. So what's your question?
My
about
question
TCL
is,
and shaming me?
No, my
for
question
having
is
a great TV.
No, it is great. Yeah. So that's another example of something that is by its nature experiential. So Southwest is literally like you can't really experience. I mean, I guess you can in their customer service and you can like on their website and whatever, but like a brand that just sells products that is not something that you.
It's not a service, just a product.
Yeah.
So what's a product I'm loyal to? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, or that like how they build trust. Like how will you build trust with something that you just pick off a shelf? This is hard. You don't do shopping, you know?
No, I don't. But I don't know. It's hard to say because a lot of this is backed by service. Like I trust consumer goods that I buy on Amazon because if there's a problem, it's so easy for them to make it right. You know?
Yeah.
And Amazon's the one with the return policy, and Amazon's the one with the easy returns and or credit. You know, if the thing shows up and they're like, just keep that one and we're sending you another one. Like, you know, that's definitely a customer relationship one for sure.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to have, or probably helpful to people to have put more time and energy into thinking of these iconic brands and how they have either built trust or built relationship. Because I don't know that for a lot of those brands, and anybody out there that makes a product where like, unless there's something that goes wrong and they need customer service, they need support, customer success, and you're trying to grow or that aren't like client-based businesses, their experience with your brand is literally only through use of whatever the product is, consumption of the product, use of the product, etc.
Yeah.
So
so I think actually the lack of preparation in this podcast is a benefit because that's kind of the point. Is if I said like name the best customer experience you've ever had, or like name 5 brands that you have a customer relationship with, and I put you on the spot like that and you can't think of it, that's really telling, you know, about what the white space looks like. Like, sure. Why can't you come up with customer relationship? But if I said, you know, name a bunch of brands you'll never work with again, or companies like American Airlines.
My God, man, I'm still happy to fly American.
Not with me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like you'll have a much longer list there,
sure.
You know, and that's kind of the point of what it is that we do. It's like, how do you stand out? Like, how do you introduce a hospitality element to your brand, whether it's consumer goods, service, or whatever it is? How do you interrupt a pattern to a consumer with that martini glass? Where you're like, oh, that's different. I've never seen that. It's a super simple touch, and it changed my entire experience. It actually heightened the experience of me having a simple martini because it's 10 minutes old. Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess it's all comes back to that making an impact around experience generally, not always, but is most easily done by doing something that was, I don't want to say completely unnecessary, but is like, you'd initially think is superfluous to whatever.
Not an expectation by any stretch.
Yeah. Was never expected. It's completely surprise and delight. And most, if not all currently companies that are a competitor to yours would think of as completely superfluous, or maybe not even like tangential. You know, they would kind of be like, where does that even?
You're using a lot of big words. And since I don't know them, I'm going to take them as disrespect. Watch your mouth and continue with the podcast.
For anybody that doesn't know the Kevin Hart reference, they're like, what is this guy talking about? Is he just being an asshole?
Okay, so here's what I'm going to say. For those of you watching at home.
Well, you're not looking at me, and I'm going to take that as disrespect.
We want to hear from you. who are companies, honestly, who are companies that you could say you have a customer relationship with, like where you are that loyal and you're passionately referring people to them and you're like, this is the only brand in the sector that I'm ever going to work with. You know, I'm curious. Drop it in the comments.
It would be really easy to prove our point that the majority of people are going to put some sort of a hospitality or experiential or travel or restaurant as your example of something that is a great experience. If we didn't call this out, it would all be that, right? So it'd be really interesting. We want to hear all those because that's important, but the reality is that that's going to be the majority of what you think of when you think of a great experience with a company. So it's even more interesting if those things are non-hospitality related.
And that's us signing off. Thank you for listening, watching, whatever it is you do. You smash the like button.
Smash that like button.
Yeah, smash that. And then also the subscribe. I think you're supposed to smash that one too.
Yeah, don't forget to subscribe.
Yeah, there you go.
Turn your notifications on.
Do all those things. Yeah, that would be great.
You know what? Next time what we should talk about is the concept about how if you do have a negative experience with a company, that's actually a bigger opportunity for them to make an impact.
Ooh, on the next episode. That is very, very true. Not a Dr. Dre reference. Thank you guys very much.
Next episode.
Come.
Gotta cut that shit out, man.